Anchors up, sails at full. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Little different.
A little different.
The sun is still out here, Jared.
Yeah.
And we are for the first time doing a recording immediately.
Yeah. This is
after the Ohio State game here.
This is an immediate react. We're like 15 minutes after the clock's at 0. Yeah, and Kyle won't be joining us for behind the scenes. We normally do 2 episodes in each sit-down session. Kyle will not be joining us for
Start your video, Jared.
Oh, have I not sent my video to the fellas? All right, I'm sending my video to the fellas.
That's how quick we are doing this here. But yeah. Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, no, we're good now. They have camera. Yeah, but okay, forget the behind the scenes stuff. Let's talk about Ohio State versus Penn State. 20-12. I mean, listen, any win here is exactly, I mean, it's just any win, right? You come into this game, a top 10 matchup. It's at home. It's against one of the best, statistically the best defense in college football coming into this football game. If you listen to our Know Your Enemy show, I gave you all the stats. I'm not going to give them to you again. But coming into this game, and again, we can talk about Penn State's schedule up till this point and maybe how that aids in their statistic dominance. Obviously, right? Best team they played up until this game was Iowa, was West Virginia. They had not played anyone great to this point. So, I mean, granted, but even if you're playing lesser football teams, still coming in with just, number 1 in rush defense. They were in the top 10 for pass defense. Number 1, forcing a bad completion percentage against quarterbacks. Across the board, either top 10 and in many cases number 1 in the country defensively. Even if the schedule is that's still incredibly impressive. So to come in and put up 365 total yards against the number 1 defense in college football, 286 passing yards against the number 1 defense in college football, and like 22 first downs against the number 1 defense in college football. And like you went 6 for 16 on third downs, which, okay, it's in most situations isn't great, but against this defense, not that bad. And I would say a lot the same about just the offensive line in general. The offensive line, Kyle, I would say at many points in this game, and like we've talked about, the weakest point on the Ohio State chain, the weakest link in the Ohio State chain is the offensive line. And they had some spectacular moments in this game. And they had some less than spectacular moments in this game, but considering the competition, considering not just the talent they were facing, but the depth they were facing, the scheme that they were facing, I thought performed pretty well. I mean, based off of, when we get to the grades, we grade based off of expectation, and our expectation for the offensive line at this point isn't sky high. And considering the competition they played against, I thought the offensive line did pretty well.
I'll say yes. I think overall they played better than I thought they were going to.
Right.
Especially in the first half. First half, I'll give them a high grade in the first half there, but the second half, it felt like the wheels are starting to come off on that offensive line there. Like looking at the stat here, Jared, if you're looking at the first half, Ohio State ran the ball 20 times for 62 yards. Okay. That's an okay number. That's an okay number against this defense. But then the second half, you ran it 21 times for 17 yards.
Not great.
No, not great at all.
Part of that I'm going to put on the coaching staff. Stop running on first down. Just stop. Mm-hmm. Stop running at any time in which the defense is expecting you to run. Just stop. Your offensive line isn't going to be that good. You have to pass the ball to set up the run, not the other way around.
Yep.
Anytime the defensive ends are hitting home is a good day, says Zach. I agree. JT had a monster game. Statistically, it doesn't show, but JT had a monster game. Sawyer made some amazing impact plays. I think we saw Hall and Hall and Tyleek make some incredible disruptive plays. I don't know what the statistics are for everyone I just mentioned. I know JT's statistics are, it's like 1 tackle and 1 sack, but he was all over the place. He was blowing up screens. He was keeping containment. JT had a fantastic game.
I'll tell you who else had a great game here. Number 7. Jordan Hancock. Early on, Jordan Hancock had himself a great game.
Yeah, no Denzel Burke in this game.
Yeah, and didn't hear much of him in that second half, which is a good sign. Usually, most of the time there, he didn't really call his name much in that second half, but the first half he made a lot of great tackles. He came up big. Really liked Hancock there. Simon made some great plays as well too.
Igbinosa, I would say, other than early on in this game, I don't even remember Igbinosa playing, which, he graduated to cornerback 1 for this game with no Denzel Burke. And where was Igbinosa in this game? I only remember a couple plays in which they threw directly at him, which is, again, exactly what you want from your cornerback. I barely remember him playing. Proctor had another good game. Jermaine Matthews, it needs to be said, got an increased number. True freshman. In case anyone's listening who doesn't know, Jermaine Matthews, number 24, was the 2nd/3rd cornerback on the field today. He was rotating a lot with Hancock. There were many instances in which there were 3 cornerbacks on the field that you'd have both Hancock and Matthews out there. Again, that's a true freshman. Future of the Ohio State cornerback room is very bright. The present of the Ohio State cornerback room is very bright. But remember, Igbinosa is only in his 2nd year. Jermaine Matthews is in his 1st year. You fully expect both Hancock and Burke to leave at the end of the year, but Ohio State's set for next year cornerback wise.
Yeah, no, absolutely here. So trying to break it down here, really liked what I saw from Ohio State. There was definitely some play calling that I really liked. I like that screenplay. I think it was in the second half to Marvin Harrison to convert the first down in the red zone there. But definitely some questionable calls, as seems like it's a recurring thing every game here. Some questionable calls here, especially on the short yardage situation, especially on the 1 yard line there. Just come on, Day. Just QB sneak.
Listen.
Just QB sneak that.
If you think that Day was going to run Kyle McCord the play after Brown got hurt running the ball on the goal line, then you don't know Ryan Day. If you think that they were going to run Kyle McCord the play right after Devin Brown got hurt running the ball, you don't know Ryan Day. I'm sorry. You just straight up, there was zero chance in hell that they were going to let Kyle McCord run that football. Zero chance in hell. Now, that's not to say that the pass that he ran was the correct play call. I don't know, man. You got Marvin Harrison. Isolate Marvin Harrison on one side of the field and just let him jump ball it. And if they double him, send the tight end short there, since Marvin Harrison is probably going to, take away everyone on one side of the field. You just sort of run the tight end on a drag pattern to that area, which is now completely empty because everyone's so scared of Marv. Then he should be there as your backup option. I don't know. They're outthinking themselves on the goal line sometimes.
Yep.
And
I agree.
And I'll say it, like, you were just never going to have a tremendous running game against Penn State. You just never, that was not in the cards for today. And they were, I said this already, but they were running their best. Ohio State was running their best when they were running not on 1st and 10, not when Penn State was expecting it.
Yeah.
Because anytime they tried to run the ball in an obvious running situation, they got stuffed.
Day post game here said, best part about today is you come out of it thinking we probably should have won by a couple of touchdowns. Well, I mean, that may not be the best part. That's hey, there's coaching issues here, Day. Like, that's on you guys.
I don't think it's coaching issues. I think it's offensive line issues. And, once again, we can talk about the play calling on the goal line. Well, because of the deficiencies in the offensive line room, you have to do things that are more creative in order to get into the end zone, as opposed to just, throwing 2 tight ends, a defensive end, and a running back out there and just bullying into the end zone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, ideally, that's what you want to be able to do. But if your offensive line just isn't that, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned it. Marvin Harrison, you mentioned Marvin Harrison just recently here. Had a career game here, 11 catches, most catches he had in a game, 162 yards and a touchdown for him in this game here. Yeah, just a minimum among boys there, and I'm surprised Penn State didn't double cover him as much as they didn't. I thought they would double cover him a little bit more than that.
I mean, they did, but I mean, in the situations where you saw maybe McCord not know where to throw the ball, holding on to it a little too long, or, a lot of the passes that went to Stover, I think, were along those lines. But, the whole idea is that everyone knows Day said it in the immediate interview coming off of the field with Fox. He just, he says, we stay up late figuring out how to get Marv the ball, even though we know he's going to be double covered the entire game.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Drew Aller.
Yeah, Drew Aller.
I like Drew Aller. Hey, Drew, if you're listening to this, you're not listening to this, there's zero chance in hell you'll ever hear or see this. Drew, Washington and Oregon are both going to be looking for quarterbacks in the offseason. Get the hell out of Penn State. They're going to ruin you. Oregon and Washington will both be looking for quarterbacks next year.
Yeah,
Penn State's going to ruin you. Get the hell out of Penn State.
This is very uncharacteristic of Drew Aller. Like, he's usually really good with the ball, really accurate throwing it. But yeah, I mean, credit to Ohio State's defense to making it challenging for him, getting pressure on him that he's not used to all season. Because I mean, we talked about it in the Know Your Enemy section earlier in the week, last week. They've never played a good defense or offense like they did against Ohio State. And it really showed here that Drew just did not feel comfortable back there. And passes that he typically makes, they're off not just by a little bit, but quite a bit too. Like a lot of those 5-yard and outs that he usually makes.
Yeah.
Way off on that. The timing is off, and just everything was off for Penn State. So hats off to the Silver Bullets. Silver Bullets are back, and this with this kind of defense here, if they can figure things out a little bit more on the offense to be a little bit more consistent, this is a championship caliber team.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone had a plan until Silver Bullets are flying. Yeah, exactly, Spikes. Penn State just is not there offensively. And one of the things, if you go all the way back to our Big Ten preview that we did back in August, one of the things I looked at when I was, looking at Penn State was that they weren't returning many. And I believe they early on in the season, or maybe even the preseason, lost, if I'm remembering correctly, an offensive tackle to injury. If I'm remembering that correctly, this Penn State team put 31 on Iowa, by the way. Yeah, exactly, Austin. We can talk about how Penn State's offense isn't very good, but we also have to give our own defense a lot of credit. But yeah, the whole point being that I think that Penn State, like Ohio State, has some real weaknesses along the offensive line right now. And that was a thing that we talked about during the season preview, because we just weren't sure what, if much, they were bringing back along the offensive line based off of who they lost last year.
Yep.
Penn State went 1 for 16 on third downs and lost to Ohio State. And by the way, that one was in when Ohio State was straight up preventing at the end during Penn State's, desperate attempt to get a touchdown. By the way, Ohio State now has the number 1 defense in the country. How would you say that? Is that based off of what metric? Because there's a lot of teams that haven't even played yet today. Is that yards per game? Oh, per play. Yards per play. We'll see. We'll see how things shake out Sunday night, or on Sunday at least. We'll see how things shake out.
Yep.
All right, Kyle. Do you want to get into the grades now? Or Cade Stover had a great game. Mayan Williams comeback game. I know the average isn't great, but again, considering the defense played, I thought he looked fine.
Well, I'll say the receiving part, Cade Stover looked great. He had some big whiffs.
Yeah,
on the blocking side. A lot of big whiffs there. That's very uncharacteristic of Stover. But
I don't know if I'd say it's uncharacteristic, especially, again, considering the level of competition they were playing.
It's true.
It also needs to be noted that Penn State did lose their second best pass rusher pretty early in the football game, their second best defensive end pretty early in the football game. I'm not making excuses for Penn State, because Ohio State was missing a ton of people coming into this game as well. But it does need to be noted that Penn State was down a very important player on their defense pretty early in the game.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the gradings then, Jared. Go and get
Ohio State was missing running back 1, wide receiver 2, and cornerback 1. Yes, they were. All right, let's get into the grades.
All right, coaching staff. We start with the coaching staff. What would you grade the coaching staff as a whole in this game, Jared?
I thought I can't. So, if we were separating this as far as offense and defense, I'd go straight up A+ for the defense. Offense, there were some questionable issues, I would say. That being said, Ryan Day didn't go full blown, no, we're going to run the ball, Ryan Day. You know what I mean? He did go to the pass when necessary.
41 times in this game.
Yeah, but we've seen him against lesser teams go straight up no, I'm going to run the ball every first and every second down. You know what I mean? We've literally watched him do that against lesser teams. But I thought that they, brought out the passing game when they needed to.
Yep. So what would you grade them as a whole then, Jared?
I'm going to give them I think I'm going to do an A-, but I'm going to say that that's being carried a lot by the defensive side. I'm going to say that. That A- is being very heavily carried by the defensive side of the coaching staff.
I'm going with a straight B. I agree with you. I think defensively, A+, A+, just fantastic from start to finish there. Just fantastic. Really, really like how this defense has developed here. And then like the offense, yeah, it's like a C minus there. So average to a B.
Right. I don't know. It feels, you have to understand that again, and maybe, I don't know how good Penn State's defense actually is, right? Again, statistically, before this game, number one defense in the country. You have to look at their schedule and weight that. But, you know, if the offense struggled today, well, maybe it's because they were playing one of the best, you know, at least one of the best. Can we inarguably say that Penn State, one of the top 10 best defenses in all of college football this year? Is anyone going to combat me on that? Are there 10 defenses better than Penn State right now? No. Kyle said no. No one's going to contest me on that. So yeah, okay, maybe the offense didn't look like a finely tuned machine against one of the best defenses in college football. I don't know. If the defense pitched an A+, then it feels a little silly to be giving the coaching staff overall a B when you had the challenges against the Penn State defense being what it is.
Mm-hmm. So statistically, they are giving up 193 yards total, 123 in the air and 69 on the ground there. So Ohio State ended up, 79 on the ground. So a little more than what Penn State is typically giving up.
And then slaughtered them through the air.
Slaughtered them through the air, more than double that. So
why are we grading? Why would you grade the offensive coaching staff so poorly that it pulls an A+ on the defensive side? It's essentially like you're giving the offensive coaching staff like a D. It feels a little low, is all I'm saying.
It's expectations. I know how this offense can roll. And they're just not clicking.
I don't know if you could have realistically expected a whole lot better than, 24 points this game.
At quarterback here, 22 for 35, 286 yards and a touchdown here, 63% completion against this pretty good Penn State defense here. At times, McCord seemed off, especially in that second half or the second quarter. He seemed pretty off, but then you see some amazing throws he made to. Yeah, I think he made a fantastic one to Tate. Threw a couple great ones to Stover as well. You see the talent. The talent is there. It's just that consistency that we need to see McCord do here. So I think with the defense that he went up against here, and again expectations for Kyle McCord, I'd probably give him like a B+. I thought overall he did well. He did luck out with the one fumble that he had that came back for Ohio State.
Never happened. Doesn't count.
That was a 14-point turnaround right there, but
never happened. Doesn't count.
Acknowledged, but he's got to have that. Can we talk timer in his head there? Just knows like.
Can we talk about the fumble that didn't happen? It's worth noting that the penalty, the defensive holding, occurred against the player who he was trying to throw the ball to. It's not like it was a total bailout.
And that's fair.
He wanted to throw it to Marv. Marv got held coming out of his break. If Marv isn't held coming out of his break, then McCord is probably going to throw the ball there. Whether the ball's completed or not, who the hell knows? But the ball's at least thrown. And the fumble never happens. So it's not like it was a total bailout. Oh, Ohio State totally got lucky. Ohio State totally got bailed out. No, that's not true. They did not just that, like, it was a direct effect of the play.
That's fair.
Great 14-point swing, though. Yeah, I mean, yeah, except that, like, it should have. I mean, thank God the penalty was called, and it was the correct call. But we see plenty of correct calls not called, so thank God it was called.
All right, what would you grade McCord then?
Again, based off of expectation, and when I say that, a lot of that has to do with Penn State's defense. I'm gonna go like an A-. Again, you read off his stats: 22 of 35, which is a 63% completion percentage, nearly 300 yards, quarterback rating of 140.9. Against a team that was number one. Quarterbacks against Penn State were only completing something stupid like 45% of their passes or something stupid like that coming into this game. And I'm not saying I'm not saying that McCord was perfect. He definitely missed some balls that he shouldn't have missed. I'm still giving him an A- for missing some, I think, were very makeable throws. But again, you have to consider the level of competition he was playing and what Penn State has done to other. Kyle, why do you have stats up as your camera right now?
I'm just showing you were going through the numbers.
Kyle, you're on the small screen there. No one can read that.
I know, it's fine.
Yeah, so McCord, I have an A-.
Okay. All right, running backs here, Jared. You're without Trey Henderson again in this game, so you have to rely on Chip and Chop to take the load here. Overall, if you combine the two here, I'm trying to do quick math here. 33 attempts for 84 yards, which is about a 2.5 yard per carry in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Mayan looked good, and I thought that Trainum looked good running it. He had a pretty devastating miss on a pass block. Tennessee 13-0 over Bama, by the way. Holy crap. Yeah, but it was just hard because, like I said earlier, Ohio State's offensive line just wasn't good enough to beat Penn State's defensive line when Penn State knew that they were going to run the ball. When Penn State knew the run was coming, Ohio State's offensive line just wasn't winning.
On first down.
On first and 10, most notably. Yeah.
Gosh, I wish I had the stats on how often did Ohio State run the ball on first down. It would not surprise me if.
And what was the average?
It would not surprise me on first down they ran the ball 85% or more. It would not surprise me.
I don't think it would be that high. I think it's just it's especially noteworthy because it failed most of the time, and that was frustrating. So you'd just go, "Oh, of course they ran it on first and 10, and we got half of a yard." Anyway,
so running
it's
backs,
hard. It's just so hard to grade the running backs.
Yeah, I'm going to give a C for the running backs here. There were some holes that were missed, and then just follow your blockers. There's plenty of times when it's like just follow your blockers. There was one I remember. I think it was mine. If he just stayed right on Stover's butt there, he would have had 4 or 5 yards, and instead he had He had 0 yard carry. And try to bounce it outside there. I understand that it's a tough run against this Penn State defense, but they had some speed and are able to track down these two running backs who don't have a lot of speed here. It was a little frustrating at times, and holes were missing, and the run blocking was just abysmal. It was abysmal in this game, so that's why I gave him a C. Just an overall, especially the pass blocking, just not good at all.
I gave him a B, but it's hard to grade them when offensive line just isn't. There's just a lot. I don't even want to say the offensive line played poorly, and I guess we'll talk about that here in a second, because again, this Penn State defense is, I mean, their front seven is so incredibly good. They have an incredibly talented front seven. So it's really hard to say when the offensive line played poor, because the offensive line played poorly. It just feels like I'm blaming them. And again, I'm not saying the offensive line is fixed and spectacular, actually, but I am saying that the offensive line played better than I was expecting them to. Yeah.
So speaking of that, the offensive line, I'll give a C as well. I know, just hear me out. I know a lot of people want to say, give the offensive line a D, give them an F here.
I'm going to go higher than this, actually.
Only let up 2 sacks in this game here. Yeah, the rushing yards does not look good, but the pass blocking was very, very good. A lot better than I thought they were going to do against this Penn State defense. I was really impressed, especially in that first half, how well the offensive line played. Like I mentioned earlier in this episode, the wheels kind of started sputtering off in the second half, but first half, I was very pleased what I saw.
Yeah. I'm actually going to go higher. I'm not saying the offensive line played great, but here's the thing. Compared to what we saw early in the season against like Youngstown State, against Indiana, against a lot of the teams who Ohio State's offensive line did not look good against, the level of competition here is so much higher. And I thought that they played honestly better against Penn State today than they did against inferior opponents in September.
All right.
It was their best game of the season, opponent adjusted. Austin, I think that's probably true. I think that's, I'd want to think about that. And I would say it's at least disputable, but it's also very possibly true.
Yeah, I would like to compare that to Purdue last weekend, because I thought the offensive line did very well against
opponent
Purdue.
Adjusted being the important.
I know. All right, moving on to the tight end here. Talked a little bit about Stover a little bit earlier here. 4 catches, 70 yards. Made some great catches. In this game. But some of the blocking on both pass and especially on run blocking, not his best game.
No.
So what would you give the farmer? Yeah, what would you give the farmer here, Jared?
B-. The run blocking wasn't always bad, although there were some key misses, as you pointed out. And I thought he was incredibly, I mean, he's probably the second best pass catcher on the field today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say C+. I know he made some great catches here, but it's hard for me to give a good grade based on how bad they were with some of those blocking that Stover did.
And not just Stover. On top of that, the pass blocking by some of the other tight ends who came into the game was also not great. Excuse me, not the pass blocking, the run blocking.
Yep. All right, wide receivers here. We talked about Marv already. 11 catches, 162 yards, had the touchdown. Tate, the freshman there, 3 catches, 21 yards. Fleming had a catch, 9 yards, and X had a catch for 6 yards.
Yeah, I was back and forth on this because early on in the game, it looked like the wide receivers were going to have the case of the dropsies again. Marv dropped one, Fleming dropped one. Like, I feel like it was either the second or maybe it was the second and third drives of the game. Both of the primary wide receivers on the team dropped the ball. So it really started to look like it was going to be another case of, we have to count Curry as a tight end and he missed his block. Yeah, I agree, Austin. So yeah, it just, as far as the wide receivers, like, they looked good on the first drive. then they started to get some dropsies going, but then I feel like they totally delivered later. Fleming had a really nice catch, but I think that one was called back because of a holding call.
It was on Simmons.
It was on Simmons. The reason I sort of stopped talking there for a second was like penalties. Maybe I should drop the offensive line back down to a B. Maybe I should. I think it was just the one holding call that they got called for, which is the only ones that count. Marvin Harrison Jr. obviously has a huge game. Yeah, he had the one drop, but he totally redeemed himself. Carnell Tate, I feel like, had 2 chances at like 50-50 balls. Didn't really come down with either of those for big plays, but he does have 3 catches otherwise. It's just hard because I want to grade Marvin Harrison Jr. really well, but I don't know. But like outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., there were 4 catches by wide receivers. 5 catches by wide receivers, depending upon if I think Xavier was playing wide receiver at the time. So we'll say 5 catches by wide receivers for a grand total of 36 yards. 5 catches for 36 yards by all wide receivers not named Marvin Harrison Jr. It's a problem.
That is a problem. I mean, Emeka wasn't in this game here and definitely showed here, but Marv stepped up there and really took control here. So
I give the wide receivers, I give the wide receivers a B as well. But that grade's being carried a lot by Marv.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Marv, that would plummet. That would plummet, but thank goodness Marv is there. All right, defensive line here. I mean, I got to give the defensive line an A. Such a stellar performance by this defensive line. Yes, A plus. Let's just give them a straight up A plus here. Defensive line played outstanding, held Penn State's rushing attack. I mean, we talked about Allen and Singleton, probably two, like Penn State has a really good duo running back, and for them holding those two to, what is that, to 74 yards total in this game, outstanding. I
mean, I would argue that Penn State screwed up by not giving Singleton the ball more. That's a classic James Franklin blunder, in my opinion.
Yeah. He had 9 touches, 48 yards, over 5 yards a pop there.
Yeah.
And
Penn State, and outside of the fourth quarter, it's not like Penn State was ever like out of the game and couldn't run the ball.
Yeah.
It wasn't until somewhat late. It wasn't until Ohio State's second touchdown that you would have ever said Penn State needed to get away from running the ball, which would have accounted for 2 drives for Penn State when they like needed to throw the ball. I would say, is that accurate? There were only 2 drives for Penn State where they absolutely needed to throw the ball.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Maybe the one going into halftime. But they ran the ball a lot on that drive. So not that.
They ran that, which I did not understand how they just killed that clock. It was so confusing.
Is Saban washed? No, Saban's not washed. It's just you need to have a quarterback in college football, and he doesn't have one this year.
All right, linebackers, Jared. I got to give the linebackers I would say an A. Honestly, I would say A. I can't really think of anything bad to say about them. They made some great tackles. They didn't. The only thing I could think of is Chambers had the really bad positioning, but I can't blame him too much because I don't think he was playing zone, and that far left side wasn't his.
Yeah. Oh, on the tight end reception? No, I don't blame him for that at all. I don't think he was supposed to have that zone area. No, I thought Chambers played well. I thought Cody Simon played well. Eichenberg, I thought, had a very Eichenberg game, sort of silently playing well. Like you think, oh, I don't really remember a whole lot from Tommy Eichenberg this game, and then he leads the team in tackles. That's just kind of what Tommy Eichenberg does at this point. Just silently dominates the game.
Yeah, and there was one drive Cody Simon took control too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cody Simon had himself a pretty decent game as well. Corners, I got to give the corners an A+. Corners played outstanding. You're without your CB1 in this game here. And what do you do in this game? You hold Penn State to under 200 passing yards here. Their main wide receiver Lambert, 6 receptions, 52 yards. Outstanding. Yeah, I give him a A+. Very, very good game.
Yeah, I totally agree. The only reason I even kind of considered not giving them the plus was because
no penalties on the DBs. Yeah, no penalties on those corners or safeties.
The only reason I even slightly considered, and I'm also giving the cornerbacks an A+. The only reason I considered not doing it is simply because I felt like the defensive line made the cornerbacks' lives pretty easy here. Like, there was such a consistent pass rush, and even when there wasn't a consistent pass rush, Aller was so flustered by the pass rush, even if it didn't come on every single play, that he was just out of sorts. Yeah, I'm going to go A+ for the corners. I'm also changing my mind on the linebackers. I think we're going straight A there, because I thought the linebackers, for the most part, were good in pass coverage as well. Mm-hmm. A couple given up to the tight ends, but that's going to happen sometimes.
Yep. All right. Safeties. I'll give them I'm stuck between an A and A+. I'll stick with an A+.
Hey, Kyle, how many
the corners?
How many?
If I gave the corners an A+, I'll give the safeties an A+.
What was Penn State's longest play on the day?
Oh, let's look here. If I look at big plays, biggest play was a 34-yard pass in the second quarter there to Theo Johnson for 34 yards.
And the second biggest? Nick Singleton run for 20?
Yep.
So only one play.
Go
ahead.
And then the third was on that last drive for Penn State as well, where they had 19-yard reception, where they just were able to pass the ball just because of the prevent defense Ohio State was running.
29 to a tight end. Yeah, he had a lot of room to run in front of him. There was a lot of yards after the catch for the tight end. So yeah, you look at the safeties. Safeties are supposed to prevent giving up big plays. Only one play over 30 yards, only one play over 20 yards. Sounds like the safeties did their job.
Yep.
I'm giving them an A+.
All right, and special teams, Jared.
Are you going A or A+?
I said A+. If I gave the corners A+, give the safeties an A+ too.
Sure.
All right, special teams, Jared.
Still none over 40. That's huge for us. Based off of last year, it's beyond huge. Whatever the hugest form of huge is, it's that.
Special teams, I'll say B-. B-. You missed a field goal there, so I'll.
No. We're going so much worse than B-. By the way, it says kicking on the board. Is this kicking, or is this
it's special teams? No, just special teams.
Okay. I'm gonna go D. I mean you're right. The punt.
There was that punt coverage. You're right. That
punt coverage. Yeah, I thought that there were a couple punting shanks. You have a missed field
I'll say
goal.
C- then.
Singleton had a really nice return on one of the plays. Yeah. Sorry, Kyle, what did you change your grade to?
To C-. I didn't think too much about the punt return, the 2 punt returns that Penn State had that ended up getting quite a bit of yardage there.
Yeah. Well, and then the fumble is the biggest, or, it's not a fumble, it's a muff, but yeah.
And that was on Ballard. The Ballard needed to tell.
Well, we
Styles. It was Styles there. He's like, hey,
Styles senior.
Ball's there. Move.
Yeah, it was on. Well, Styles. Well, we don't know because.
Yeah.
We don't know because we weren't there. Maybe Ballard wasn't signaling correctly. Maybe Ballard did signal correctly, but Styles didn't hear him. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to know for sure by watching it on television. But yeah, regardless, it's on the special teams.
Fair enough. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to our Buckeye leaves then, Jared.
Buckeye leaves.
All right. For the offense here, I'm going to steal. I'm going to start first because I'm going to steal it, and it's Marvin Harrison Jr.
You son of a. All right, then I'll go Kyle McCord.
Okay.
I know it wasn't a perfect game, but for a young quarterback in a situation where he's playing one of the best defenses in college football, he nearly throws for 300 yards, 0 interceptions on the day. That needs to be said. 0 turnovers that counted. That needs to be said. Even if he wasn't spectacular, even if he's not where he's not to where CJ Stroud was, even compared to CJ Stroud, if we go 7 starts to 7 starts. He's behind CJ Stroud in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
But
all right, defense.
But he's still he does what he has to do, which is not lose.
Defense here.
CJ's busy.
I'm going to go out a little bit here. We mentioned his name once here. I'm going to go with the freshman. I'm going to give my defensive Buckeye leave to Matthews. Okay. I'm going to give mine to Matthews here. I thought he did very well. Didn't hear much from him, which is what you want from a corner. And him coming in here for the injured Burke.
Yeah,
I'll give mine to Matthews. There's a lot of names you can put in here, but I'm going to give a leaf to Matthews here.
Matthews was I was hoping to use Matthews as my wild card, but I might have to switch it up now. Defense, I'm going to go JT. I think he was disruptive the entire football game. I don't care what the stats end up saying. He was disruptive the entire football game. Well, who does the chat want? Who do you want for your defensive Buckeye leaf, chat?
Simon's a good one too.
I see a Cody Simon. Is anyone gonna dispute Zach on that? We have one for Matthews, but Kyle already gave one to Matthews, so I think we'll stick with Cody Simon. Yeah, I thought Cody Simon had a great game.
Right, and your wild card. Who are you giving your wild card to, Jared?
I'm going to go with Igbinosa. First game as the starting number one, not starting cornerback, but as like the cornerback, is the number one cornerback. And he did exactly what he was supposed to do, which was, by the way, he has 5 solo tackles on the day.
Yeah. All 5 of his tackles were solo. Yeah.
One of them tackled for a loss. I don't know if those were like screenplays or if those were some sweeps or exactly how those came about. I'd have to go back and look. But it's not because he was giving up a ton of passes. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Kyle, how many passes did Drew Aller even complete before that
18.
last drive? Before that last drive.
You know what?
Rough guess. Can you get a rough guess? How many, not counting the last drive, how many completed passes did Drew Aller have? Let's see. 3 plus 3 plus 3, 9. He had 9.
He had seven complete passes. He had 7 complete passes in that last drive there.
Okay.
So 11. It's 10 or 11.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll call it 11 before that last drive. 11 completed passes. Regardless, not a lot. Yes, thank you. He was 10 of 32 into the last drive or 2. Okay.
Yep,
So
here
let's.
Here it is, Jared.
10 of 33 before the last drive, someone else says. So yeah, I mean, regardless, it's about, we'll just say 10 of 30 something. 10 of low 30s. So yeah, you look at all of the tackles that Igbinosa has. It's not because he was letting up passes, regardless. Lou Holt's wild card. Did anyone else one day to grab the mic and be like, "Where's Snow Paterno at?" How can you yell at someone even older than Lou Holtz? Find someone who's dead.
You gave Igbinosa your wild card, and well, I guess we're going to make it 3 corners to give a Buckeye leaf. I'm going to give mine to Hancock. I'll give my wild card to Hancock. I thought he played a really good game as that DB2 alongside with Matthews. Yeah, very, very happy with what I saw with the defensive backs.
Would have been better if Franklin ran across the field and came out in new pants. Yes, that would have been great.
Yeah. Jared, I think that is it. I think that is our Scarlet and Grade episode for the Penn State game. Any last comments before we wrap things up here?
Well, we still need a wild card Buckeye leaf from the chat. Can coaches get leaves? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep, they can.
Best thing about 7-0, everyone knows it's a chance to go 8-0, of course. It looks like they want to go Jim Knowles. Yep. Is that how do we feel about that? Kenyatta Jackson did look good, as did Caden Curry, at least when playing defense. Yeah, it looks like we're going Jim Knowles. Looks like we're going
Jim Knowles.
All right. Yeah, just want to encourage everyone to stop by the Discord server. We're going to be watching games tonight. Of course, this won't be published until Monday, so that doesn't mean anything to the people listening to this, but we will be watching games in the Discord server like we do every single Saturday, unless of course we decide to do it on a Thursday night, which we have done before. No, you can't tell me I suck if you join the Discord server. You have to be a patron in order to tell me I suck. Yeah, and not in the YouTube comments. You're only allowed to tell me I suck if you join the Patreon. That's one of the benefits of being a patron, is that you get to tell me that I suck. Otherwise, I don't want to hear it. Jared, you suck. Thank you, Patreon. Yeetus also tells me I suck. Okay. Yep. See? And I just take it because I need the money.
Yeah, awesome. I think.
Don't call me Dabo.
I think that's it here, Jared.
Do you have anything in Kyle's corner?
I really don't. As we were just recording this straight after the game, I don't.
That's fair.
We can just go ahead and end this episode.
Okay. You know what, Kyle? I'm gonna handle it. Let me take a look at something real quick as I scroll through our recruiting channel. Yeah, this is free. This is normally paywalled stuff here. We have, I thought it was in here. It apparently isn't. I must have been talking about it in some other channel. There are 2 important visitors coming into Ohio State this weekend for recruiting in the 2024 class. And 2 committed Miami players, or Brooker Pritchett, I don't think is technically committed to Miami yet. Just going to say this. we need Miami to fall apart because the Ohio State coaching staff has several open recruiting relationships with some Miami players. And should Miami totally fall apart, it would really benefit Ohio State's 2024 recruiting class. I'll just say that. There's at least a wide receiver who I think is... did you find it, Austin? You were the best, Austin. We've active. I have Miami committed wide receiver Chance Robinson in the 2024 mock. Marquise Lightfoot is realistic. Brooker Pritchett is realistic. Zaquan Patterson is semi-realistic. And Robinson and Pickett are the ones who are visiting or have visited for the Penn State game. So something to keep an eye on. What about Jamie French? That would be the 2025 recruiting class. We'll see. He's committed to Bama already, but that's a super early commitment. And, I don't know. That's 2025. I'm just going to put a real big, we'll see later on that right now. All right. That's it. That's the end of today's show. Tonight's ending music will be by we'll call them a folk punk band, I suppose, out of the Columbus area. They are called Two Cow Garage. I'm dedicating this song specifically to Penn State. And if you stick around and listen to the song, or if you're in YouTube, we don't play the song on the YouTube version. You can instead go to the show notes and follow the link to the song to get why I am dedicating this song to Penn State. If you want to get the joke, you got to listen to the song. That's all I'm saying. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support local podcasters. Once again, this is Two Cow Garage.